Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Riverside Ramble. What you're about to watch is an interview between myself and six-time world champion Ottilie Robinson-Shaw. I definitely get a little bit starstruck throughout this interview, so please forgive me that, and I hope that you enjoy watching. Without further ado, let's get into it. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Riverside Ramble. This week I am joined by none other than freestyle phenomenon Ottie. Please, introduce yourself. Where are you right now in the world? Perhaps where have you been for the last couple of months?
So hi everyone, my name is Ottie. I'm a freestyle kayaker. I live in the UK. I'm currently in Nottingham, and I've just got back from a mega few months. I was competing in Europe, and then I finished off the season with a fun holiday kayaking in Canada, and now I'm back home for the winter, which is really nice. And we've got a lot of hard training ahead of us. Incredible.
Very, very cool. A couple of quick fire questions for people to kind of get to know you a little bit. You're going on a road trip. You're saying you've just had a nice holiday. I'm assuming there might have been a bit of driving if you were driving around Canada. What is the essential snack and what's the playlist?
Oh,
I didn't brief you for these ones, sorry.
No, I really like those yogurts in the squeezy pouches. That's my favourite snack of all time.
Strong. Incredible.
And favourite playlist, my dad actually created a playlist when I was a kid, and we listened to it when we would drive all over the country in the world kayaking, and that's still one of my favourites. He called it RG Adventure when we went to Argentina, and it's full of dad music, but I quite enjoy it.
Incredible. That's so good. Nice sort of taste of home while you're out and away.
Yes.
That's really cool. Very good. Last one on that then. Are you the kind of person that is a let's get to where we're going? Or are you that's a nice place that's almost en route, let's stop there?
It very much depends on where I'm going. If it's a big, beautiful green wave in the sunshine, we're going straight there. If we're going somewhere boring, let's detour a little bit and make
delay it. Very nice. Very nice. Cool. For those that have been living under a rock, you are a six-time world champion. You were the first woman to break 1,000 points in C1. I think that's correct. Mm-hmm. Not to mention being fairly instrumental in making competitive women's C1 exist. Is mm-hmm. that fair to say?
I think so.
You had a significant part in that. Most recently, you were the double European champion, K1 and C1. Mm-hmm. Those are all huge achievements. Mm-hmm. What achievement in paddling are you happiest with?
Ooh. I think the first time I won the World Championships, I was 16. I was really shy. I didn't believe in myself. And when that happened, it brought me a lot more confidence and allowed me to kind of dream bigger. And I think that's one of my most proud achievements, I guess, because it changed who I was as a person. I went from being shy, lacking confidence, Ottie, to feeling like I could actually believe in myself and achieve things. So I think that's something I'm really proud of. But ever since that point, breaking records in K1, C1 and squirt boat, that's why I do the sport. And I'm really proud when I can achieve that in a competition.
That's so cool. I love that your starting point, I suppose, in that sense, you're going all the way back to that starting point and saying, well, that was a happy achievement, which means that everything from there builds in a really positive way. That's I don't know. I think that's really both interesting and excellent. That's very cool. As you say, you've had a journey of paddling and competing. You haven't done that alone. amazing. I'm not saying that to take away from what you have achieved, because obviously it's a solo competitive sport, so it's absolutely down to you. But there are other people that have helped you along that journey and supported you. Who would you say, maybe a couple of people that you're really thankful for in your paddling journey, and are there particular lessons that those people have taught you that you kind of take with you?
Ooh, I have a few people that I think, like, I wouldn't be where I am without them. And I'm going to start with, obviously, my parents. I think in any outdoor adventure sport, it would be virtually impossible without the support of your parents at a young age.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like a financial way. I mean that in, do they believe in you to achieve things, and are they going to enjoy the process with you, not to put too much pressure on you and just like do it with you because you love it. But from a more kind of technical point of view, I think Dennis Newton, my coach, I've worked with him since I was 13. I wouldn't be where I am without him, nor would I be where I am without Claire O'Hara, one of his former athletes. And there's numerous other people, but without Den, I wouldn't be where I am.
Amazing. That's cool. Is there, I mean, I'm sure that there are a million both technical and riverbank lessons, I suppose, that Den's taught you. Mm-hmm. Are there any particular things that you think have been sort of, I don't know, light bulb moments, or things that you're like, that is every single session, that is something that's stuck?
I think Den's main focus as a coach is to make sure we're enjoying it and we're having fun. It's very athlete-led coaching, which I think works really well for me. But I also feel lucky that from the age of 13, it's been instilled in me that girls can be as good as boys. We can break down barriers, and we can paddle way better than we can possibly imagine right now. And just having that kind of mindset from a young age has led to big and wonderful things and beautiful tricks. And I hate to think, like, if I didn't have someone like Den or Claro or, my parents, Harry, lots of people contributed to me feeling this way. And if I didn't have those people around me, maybe I'd still be doing front loops and never, ever believing that I could hold air screw or do lunar loops.
Yeah. Wow. That's so phenomenally inspiring. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's, and you've shown it to be true. Mm-hmm. You compete at a level where you consistently achieve the same or better score lines than many, many of the men, which is incredible. And it's a testament both to the hard work that you put in, but a testament to the fact, as you say, a testament to the fact that it can be done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's hope that it's done by many more people, I suppose. Yeah, that's amazing. So you're not hanging up your hat, having achieved, 6-time world championship status.
No.
So what is next? What's the next horizon for you?
I of course I want to keep winning world championship gold medals. I want to see how many I can get before I'm old. But I think my big motivation and something that will keep me going through the winter is I want to be landing rides specifically in K1, but in all disciplines that are on par with the top man or top few men, and that some of the best men, Harry, Tom Dole, Kim, Dane, potentially, for example, those men watch that ride and go, whew, I'm going to have to do a good ride to beat that. I think that's where I'd like the women's sport to get to. And I think it's very possible, and I'm hopefully showcasing that it is possible. It just takes a lot of hard work, so I'm hoping we keep practicing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. You could sit down and watch someone else's ride and think, okay, right, I can see that a lot will be required, and I can see what I can do to respond to that and to better it. How, because presumably that is what you would do in a competition now, to some degree, against a competitor. How do you approach a really stiff competition like that, where you are seeing, I'm thinking especially of like sort of semi-finals and finals where you start seeing the scorelines really pushing. Well, actually, I don't know. Sometimes it's more sort of the semi-finals where the scorelines really go up, and then actually the finals they sometimes come down, don't they? But still, you're at that end of a competition where things are really starting to stack. How do you approach that?
From a young age, I've always had the belief that I want to train to be better than everyone, so that on competition day, everybody does their best, and hopefully the best person wins, and that it's a fair competition. And if you are in a league of your own, hopefully you claim the gold medal. And it doesn't always work like that, unfortunately, but that's kind of what's motivated me to train really hard. And then actually it's interesting you mentioned like watching your competitors and working out what you have to do to beat them, because the last few years I've focused really hard on me and not on what other people can do. When you're training, you might keep a little eye on what people are doing here, there, but I honestly don't care. It's when I go out to compete, I'm going to do what Otti can do. And if that wins, fantastic. And if my best doesn't win, I wasn't the best person. That's okay.
Wow.
But if I just focus on exactly what I can do and exactly how I want to paddle, then you should smash it. Whereas if you're trying to paddle like other people, you're not going to paddle like yourself.
Wow. Yeah, that's so powerful. Yes. Because, I mean, even in a non-competitive sense, and even in a non-kayaking sense, I suppose, it's so easy to live in a world of comparison with others, isn't it? Yeah, that's so powerful. Wow, thank you for sharing that. I suppose that touches a little bit on the sort of the psychological aspect of competition. It sounds like your strength doesn't just lie in the fact that you're a skilled kayaker, but you have a real mental fortitude when it comes to competition. Are there any particular practices or like routines that help you to maintain that? Or is there any advice that you might offer to a younger paddler perhaps who's considering the competition route or starting to push that door?
I think like mental toughness in a competition is a skill that can be learned, and it's also a skill that you can lose over time potentially. And I think it's really important for people not to label themselves as having a bad mental game from an early stage. And I've noticed it a lot, and I think it's a little bit heartbreaking if I'm honest. From a young age, I wasn't particularly good at anything as a kid, but when I started kayaking, I read a lot of sports psychology books because I wanted to work out how I could compete well. And just little habits that you can bring into your daily life, like being positive and being very mindful, I think go a long way when you compete. But also just focusing on yourself and only what you can do, I think will take you a long way. In addition to surrounding yourself with people who make you feel good. You don't want to be going into competition with negative energy or worries or stress. Like, you want to be happy and healthy and just try and enjoy it if you can.
Yeah, that's such good advice. So do you think then that, you're saying about people who potentially at an early stage are labelled or take a label of, oh, my mental game isn't strong. Would you say that can be a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, in a sense, that people just, or it gets taken to heart too easily?
I think so. I think labeling yourself as anything like with potential like negative kind of meaning can be detrimental to your performance. Whether that's you label yourself as being fat or you label yourself as being sensitive or whatever, like I think you've got to be sometimes a bit careful with labels and just accept this is who I am. Yeah, sometimes I get nervous before I compete, sometimes I have a wobble, but that's okay. We move on, we live and we learn.
Yeah.
Think of all the things that we're like the top athletes in the world. We're all bad at different stuff, but I'm not going to walk around saying, "Hi, my name's Otti. I'm really bad at doing the washing up." Like, I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, it's not gonna. It's never gonna be the thing you lead with.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. However, failure is a natural part of a learning process, and presumably it's, in a competition where one person wins. How do we develop a positive relationship with failure?
I always think that everything happens for a reason, good or bad. And if I look back on my career, there have been moments that have been awful and really hard, and there's been moments that have been wonderful. And those moments of hardship have been there because maybe I've needed a break from the sport, or maybe I needed to focus on other areas of my life for a bit. And those moments of magic have been there because I needed a confidence boost, or it was to take me in a certain route. And that's how I generally see it now is you might lose a competition, but that's going to make you better in the long run. And you just have to believe that it's all just part of your journey, and it will get you to your end point eventually. We just all go on different paths.
Yeah. So part of your journey recently has been working through injury. Talk us through that a little bit. How was that?
It was awful. So in October last year, so almost a year ago, at the World Championships, in the morning of the final day, which was during our semi-final round, I dislocated my shoulder. And I paddled up to Den, my coach, and I was like, my shoulder really hurts. And I was pretty stressed. And I sat on the rocks waiting to see if I made the cut for finals. And I had. And then I burst into tears because I was like, oh, no.
Got to go again.
This is going to be hard. And I went up to the car. I took ibuprofen. I iced. I couldn't get my keg deck off very easily. I lost all strength and range of motion. And I really, on an ordinary day, I would not be kayaking. But this was the World Championship final. I'd spent years preparing. So we went for it, and I got a silver medal, which now looking back on it with 1 hour after dislocating my shoulder, that's fantastic. But it broke my heart a bit and stung for a while. And then after that, I had all my scans, and turns out that I had quite a large tear to my labrum. So I ended up having surgery just before Christmas and spent the start of the new year rehabbing my shoulder, which is something I've never had to do before, which was a learning experience in itself.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is an insane achievement. Which, as you say, you can look back on now and be like, that is insane and really amazing. But yes, I'm sure at the time must have been. That's all right.
No, I'll be back soon.
No problem. In this moment, can I encourage you, if you're enjoying this, then please do consider subscribing and hitting the like and sharing this wherever you feel comfortable while we're experiencing dog-related issues. Thank you. Otti's back.
He's come to say hello.
Yay! Excellent. Who's this?
This is Freddy.
Hello, Freddy.
Yeah, but he can get very territorial if he hears someone moving their bin outside.
Officially, I think, the first dog on the channel. Well done, Freddy. You've made it. You're a star. All 10 of the people who will watch this. Oh, that's great. So shoulder injuries is a fairly common thing in kayaking. What does the rehabilitation process look like? And what things could we do? Don't worry about it. It's all good. What things can people do to prevent that? To prevent
their shoulder dislocating?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you're someone who I think is probably very physically strong, right? Mm-hmm. So is there an element of your physical fitness does make a huge difference?
I think you can reduce your chance of having a shoulder dislocation by strength training and doing prehab, which is like similar to the exercises you do recovering from surgery, but doing them beforehand to make sure that it doesn't occur. But there's also a big part that's luck and genetics. I'm very hypermobile, so I don't think that helped. And I'd spent the year paddling on big waves, which took a toll on my body.
Of course, yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, bad stuff happens. And in the scheme of things, if this is, I'm hoping this is my one bad thing in my life, and we get over it. And it probably won't be, but it's good for anyone who might potentially have a shoulder injury or is worried about it. It's good to know that so many kayakers every year dislocate their shoulders. Many have surgery, and most of them go back to paddling and don't have any problems.
Yes.
Like, you might need surgery, you might not. But I was really nervous about surgery. I'd never had surgery in my life. So I made a spreadsheet and I wrote to every kayaker I knew who'd ever had a dislocated shoulder or shoulder surgery. And I put their notes next to it, and I put whether they had surgery, how long it took them to get back. And that made me feel really confident, because out of the 20 kayakers I messaged, 19 of them had surgery, and 19 of them, all 20 were back to kayaking, but all 19 that had surgery were back to kayaking.
Wow.
So I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Awesome. Yeah. Just because you mentioned it now, what's your preference? If someone said you could have a month of perfect flows whole boating, or a month of perfect flows big waves, is your decision of where you go purely based on where the next world's what kind of feature the next world's is, or is it a kind of no, I'd really rather be there?
I would much rather be paddling a nice beautiful wave, preferably in the sunshine.
Yeah.
But I actually prefer competing in a hole. As a competition paddler, I think competing in a hole is more fun. It is less stressful. But just for fun paddling, I think a wave is wonderful, and I'm hoping for the rest of my life I can do both.
Cool.
Yeah, I love whole boating, but sometimes it gets boring, and it's nice to switch things up.
So what is it about whole boating that makes it better for competition?
I don't know if it's because I've had more experience. I've paddled lots of different holes. I've competed in them from a very young age, and they're generally more stable. Whether that makes it easier. I've never really competed on a wave except at the World Championships, so it was different. But it was also unstable. You can get unlucky surges and things.
Yeah.
But I also think where my whole paddling is I'm a lot more consistent in all my tricks, and that just makes it more it makes it a lot easier to compete.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. From as someone who's a kind of intermediate at best freestyler, I certainly find that it is far easier to link things in a hole, which presumably has quite a significant impact in modern freestyle competition, where that is such an element of the competition. Do you think that? Well, am I wrong? I suppose, because people certainly do put together very high scoring rides on a wave, but is there a correlation between whether it's a wave or a whole competition and how high the scores are across the board?
I think generally the scores will be higher in a whole competition. But I also think that's because more people have access to training holes all year round. Think of, we competed on Good Wave at the World Championships in 2023. And that's great for the people who live in America, and probably fine for the people who live in Canada. But for everyone else in the world, there's nothing like Good Wave. Whereas at least with the hole, Platling, the next World Championships, we're all right. We can train in inlet. The Americans have some holes. The Canadians have some degree of holes. And it's there's more accessibility to train, which means you get a bigger depth of people actually pushing the sport, compared to just the people who are unfortunate to grow up in a country with nice big foamy waves.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. You describe yourself as a freestyle kayaker, and I think you are clearly. Does does river running or creaking have an appeal to you, or is it more just a case of choosing to prioritise your time?
I really enjoy river running and creaking, and I think it's really fun, and it's definitely something I want to do more of. But there's two reasons that I don't do a ton of creaking. One is that I want to be the best freestyle kayaker on the planet, and I put 99% of my time and money into becoming the best freestyle kayaker on the planet. But the second one is I really love freestyle because it's not dangerous. I don't have to worry about horrible things happening to my friends or myself. I don't have to, worry about consequences of what if something happens to me and my parents. Like I don't have to worry about that with freestyle. And obviously it's a water sport. Bad stuff can still happen, but it's just so much safer. And
Of course,
I think that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, that is such a sensible and grounded answer. The issue of the inherent danger of our sport is such a present one. I think it's been kind of on the periphery of most of these interviews that I've done. I think it's something that I would love to dive into. On the days that you are getting on a river, I'm thinking like when you were in the States last year. Am I right in thinking you got on the green?
Yeah.
Which is like, as rivers go, pretty high consequence. What things have to be in place for you to be like, okay, no, that's fine?
I think I have to be paddling with people that I really trust. And they need to be some of the best kayakers in the world, but also some really like wholesome, grounded people who aren't off their head. When we were running the green, we had Clay Wright with us, Peter Holcomb, one of my best friend's dads, who's a really good photographer. Harry, like I felt very like safe and supported. And same, I paddled some big water on the Slave River in Canada, and I was with Leif and Natalie Anderson, who know the river better than anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And I think just when I do scary things, like I want to be with people I really thoroughly trust.
That's cool. Yeah, taking the consequence so seriously. You describing, I want to be with people who are the best in the world. Like now, in some ways, I'd say you have the luxury of that because you are surrounded by people who are of that level, which is amazing. But I think that is such a healthy attitude. Even if for your average UK paddler, say, let's take that to Dartmoor. Well, if I'm going to Dartmoor, I want to be paddling, at whatever level. Let's say if someone's getting on the Dart Loop, I want to be paddling with the person who is the best in the world at paddling the Dart Loop. Which on that day might be your buddy in your club, who knows? But having that attitude of like, I'm really conscious about who I'm paddling with, I think is so sensible. You also mentioned people being not off their head. Do you mean that purely in a sense of their head is screwed on, or is there anything more to that?
No, I meant it in the sense of, they have their head screwed on, they're very sensible. But it did also blow my mind a little bit when we were paddling in America about how many people are high when they're paddling on rivers. I've never experienced that in the UK.
No.
And it really shocked me, if I'm honest. And I wouldn't want to paddle with people who are drinking and doing drugs. Like, I don't mind what people do off the water. It's not me, but if you're going to drink, you do you. But not on the river. Like, I don't think that's cool. I don't think it's smart. And I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
If you're not allowed to drink and drive, why are you drinking and running grade 5?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I fully agree. Again, one of those issues that I'm like, that's massive, and it would be really good to talk about more, because I think there's probably a huge amount of overlap between that conversation and the risk and, danger conversation as well, isn't there? We've already mentioned that many of the feats that you've achieved, many of the things that you've done, and just, I don't know, talking to you as a person, you're a very inspiring person to talk to. And I would hope that in your experience, you've seen that is particularly towards women and, of all ages and stages and ability levels. Do you think that there is anything, well, I'm sure there are many things, but do you think that there are any things that specifically we could be doing as a community to be more inclusive and, you know, promote women in the sport, particularly. I'm thinking of it in this moment purely because the sport is traditionally very much male dominated. Is there an answer?
I don't know if there's an easy answer.
No.
Yeah, it's complicated. But I think what's really important is that, firstly, women inspire women. Like, that's my job. You know, when I was 13, I looked up to Claire O'Hara. She made me believe that I could be one of the best kayakers in the world if I worked my butt off, and I worked my butt off, and I became one of the best kayakers in the world. And now it's my job to showcase that to all the other young girls, old girls, whoever. But I also think just making it a really friendly and inclusive environment. You know, I hate mansplaining. There's nothing that gets me more riled up on the river and ruin a bad day is when some man who's never met me comes up and tells me how to do something that he doesn't actually know what I'm like. He hasn't asked what I'm trying to do. That bothers me. But I don't know. I think just being friendly and kind, and you know, I think it's important to not push women to the side and like treat them like, I have to be careful how I say this, but I don't think we should be treating ladies like differently. We should just be having it as like a whole. Everyone be nice to everyone, encourage people to go kayaking, invite them kayaking, look after each other. But be aware that, you know, emotions are different between different genders and how we react to things is differently. But I think that's stuff you can learn just from being a good human.
What a takeaway. Be kinder to each other.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy. You know, when you see Nuri Newman getting all this hate on the internet, I'm like, you need to take a step back and see what she's done for the sport, and don't slag her off on the internet because she's ran stuff by herself. Like, I think unfortunately men can be really quick to criticize a woman in sport sometimes, especially in a dangerous sport. And sometimes you just got to step back and be kind.
Well, that is, I think, a super place to wrap up with the message that I love your message of women inspiring women. I think that's fantastic.
They always say that you can't be what you can't see. So I think like just having more women present out on the water, in the media, creating media. Like we can't get mad about magazines not putting us on front covers if we're not submitting photos to be on the front cover. So I think just we need to get out there and produce media and show our faces, and that's how you inspire other women in the sport.
Yes, too right. Yeah, if you're not seeing it, do it and dominate it, which is exactly, I think, what you in your life and your career testify to. That's awesome. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to plug, promote, push?
I mean, anybody is welcome to follow me on Instagram. And I have a nice website, and if anybody would like to support my journey, please donate.
There we go. Perfect. Go to Otti's website. What is that website?
Oh, it's www.otterleykayaks.com. It's the same as my Instagram and my YouTube handle, and it says it on my boat in case anyone sees me kayak. Incredible.
There we go. No excuses. Go and check out that website. And if you feel compelled to support Otti, then please donate. Thank you so much for your time, Otti. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that this contributes to that positive atmosphere that we've been talking about for all paddlers and particularly for women. Yeah, thank you for everything you do for our sport. Thank you for being an inspiration to me and to many, many others.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's been so great. Hopefully I will catch you on the river at some point in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Riverside Ramble. If you enjoyed it, then please do leave a like down below and let me know in the comments, are there any other people that you would love to see interviewed in this way? And what questions might you ask them? Thanks once again to IR and to Radical Rider for supporting my journey. Please do share this wherever you feel comfortable. Remember to go and check out Otti's website and support her as well if you feel able. And I will see you in the next one.